Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video is going to be some of my highly anticipated new releases for 2022 and books that I'm hoping to get to this year. So if you missed it, I will link it for you, but one of my 2022 goals is to read at least 12 books that are newly released in 2022. So I'm just going to go through the books in the order in which I'm anticipating them, I guess. Most of these books I think I will enjoy. All of these books I think I will enjoy. I don't know why I said it like that. So these are all books that I'm highly anticipating reading in the new year. I'm going to start with the ones that I think I will enjoy the most, that are like kind of my 5-star predictions, and then I'm going to go into some that are sequels to books that I read last year, and then finally I'm going to round it out with some other new releases that I've heard of that I'm not sure if I will absolutely love them, but I do think I will enjoy them, and I am highly anticipating them. So without further ado, let's start with my 5-star predictions. And the first one I want to talk about is A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. And the Goodreads description of this one says, well, I guess it should say, the release date for this is March 8th, 2022, so that's coming up really, really soon. This is a standalone YA fantasy. If you know me, you know I love a standalone fantasy, so I'm really excited for this, and I'm just going to read you the blurb. It says, when Margaret Welty spots the legendary Hala, the last living mythical creature, she knows the half-moon hunt will soon follow. Whoever is able to kill the Hala will earn fame and riches and unlock an ancient magical secret. If Margaret wins the hunt, it may finally bring her mother home. While Margaret is the best sharpshooter in town, only teams of 2 can register, and she needs an alchemist. Weston Winters isn't an alchemist, yet. Fired from every apprenticeship he's landed, his last chance hinges on Master Welty taking him in. But when Wes arrives at Welty Manor, he finds only Margaret and her bloodhound trouble. Margaret begrudgingly allows him to stay, but on one condition: he must join the hunt with her. It contains one of my favorite tropes, which is like unlikely friends, and I also assume there's going to be a romance between Margaret and Weston, and I'm just really excited to read this one. I hope I enjoy it. It sounds really fun. I like the quest element, the hunt type thing. I love an animal companion, and it sounds like she's got a dog named Trouble, so I'm very excited for that one. And again, the release date is March 8th. Next on my list is a super highly anticipated release that I have been anticipating since 2020, I think, and that is An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. Emily X.R. Pan wrote one of my favorite books of 2020, which was The Astonishing Color of After. She does write YA contemporary with a magical realism twist. This one is a Romeo and Juliet retelling, which incorporates some parts of Chinese mythology. I don't really know that much more about that, so I'm just going to read you a little bit of the blurb, and it says, Hunter Yi has the perfect aim with a bow and arrow, but all else in his life veers wrong. He's sick of being haunted by his family's past mistakes. The only things keeping him from running away are his little brother, a supernatural wind, and the bewitching girl at his new high school. Luna Chang dreads the future. Graduation looms ahead, and her parents' expectations are stifling. When she begins to break the rules, she finds her life upended by the strange new boy in her class, the arrival of unearthly fireflies, and an ominous crack spreading across the town of Fairbridge. I'm really, really excited to read this book. I love Emily X.R. Pan's writing style, and I also really like the way that she handled the subject matter in The Astonishing Color of After, which is about a girl who lost her mother and trying to get back in touch with her Taiwanese roots. I'm really anticipating this one. It comes out on April 12th. Next, I have a book that I've heard a lot of people really anticipate, and I actually haven't read anything else by this author yet, but I do want to read her original trilogy that she first released, but that is Babel, or The Necessity of Violence, an Arcane History of the Oxford Translators' Revolution by R.F. Kuang. I know a lot of people are really highly anticipating this. It's supposed to be about the translation department at Oxford, and it's set in the 19th century, I believe, but I think it's also kind of a alternative history type of thing. So it says, 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lavelle. There, he trains for years in Latin, Ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. And I believe this book really talks about the difficulty with translation and how something, when you translate something from its original language, something is always lost, because the top of the description says, an act of translation is always an act of betrayal. So I'm very, very excited for this one. Next on my list, I have Blood Will Tell by Heather Chavez, which is a mystery thriller, and it's going to come out on April 26th. This one is about 2 sisters, and one sister is a responsible single mother, and the other sister kind of always gets in trouble. And so the blurb talks about how there's something that happened in the past where there was a drunk driving accident or something, and the sister that got into the drunk driving accident was the immature one, and the older sister sort of had to clean up that mess for her, but now there's like an Amber Alert out for a child, and the car description matches the description of the like older sister's car, and the only other person who has access to her car is her younger sister, so she's trying to figure out what's going on with this. This one sounds really, really interesting. I love sibling relationships in books, which is something that I've talked about before, and it also kind of reminds me of the premise of My Sister the Serial Killer or whatever, which I haven't read, but I also really want to read that book because it's just about like how far will you go for your blood. So I'm very excited about that one. Next on my list, I have Either Or by Elif Batuman. I don't know how that name is pronounced, so I really apologize if that's wrong, but blurb says, Selin is the luckiest person in her family, the only one who was born in America and got to go to Harvard. Now it's her second year, 1996, and Selin knows she has to make it count. The first order of business, to figure out the meaning of everything that happened over the summer. Why did Selin's elusive crush Ivan find her that job in the Hungarian countryside? What was up with all those other people in the Hungarian countryside? Why is Ivan's weird ex-girlfriend now trying to get in touch with Selin? On the plus side, her life feels like the plot of an exciting novel. On the other hand, why do so many novels have crazy abandoned women in them? How does one live a life as interesting as a novel? A life worthy of becoming a novel without becoming a crazy abandoned woman oneself. So I'm really excited about this. I really like books that explore sort of multiple timelines, but like not in like strict timelines where like you go back in time and forward in time. I like when it's like kind of all incorporated in one. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but it sounds like this sort of narrative style is going to be like that. This is also the only like literary fiction that I think I'm anticipating, but the cover is beautiful. I'm really excited to read this one, and I really hope that it lives up to this hype that I'm building for it. The next book I'm going to talk about is called When We Were Birds by Ayanna Lloyd Banwell, and this is a like mythological retelling of some sort set at Trinidad and Tobago, or set on Trinidad and Tobago, I guess. But it's described as a mythic love story set in Trinidad and Tobago. Ayanna Lloyd Banwell's radiant debut introduces two unforgettable outsiders brought together by their connection with the dead. I'm really excited for this one. The cover, again, is beautiful. I'm very attracted to like pretty covers. This one is like navy with the flowers all over it, like the vines, and it just seems like something I would really like. It's called When We Were Birds, and I believe it's, again, based in some sort of mythology, and that's this kind of thing that I like. I really like fantasy that's based in mythology. I like fantasy standalones, and I like a romantic subplot. And this is an adult fantasy, so I'm really excited for that as well, because I am sort of trending out of YA, which is, it's been a very interesting thing for me, because a lot of books on my like TBR are YA fantasy or like YA contemporary, because that was one of the genres, or I guess that was the demographic that I really enjoyed reading from. But recently, I have not been loving that as much, which is why I ended up adding this one to my list, and I'm really excited that I found it. When We Were Birds does not yet have a release date, but it is supposed to come out in 2022, so I'm hopeful that it does. The next book I'm going to talk about actually already came out in January. The release date was January 25th, and it is Devil House by John Darnell. It's a horror novel about a true crime author who writes like true crime novels, but he gets the opportunity to go live in this house that in the 80s was like the home of a big massacre or something. And the house is supposedly haunted, so it's like a haunted house book, but also it talks about like the grisly crime that was committed there by real people. So I'm very excited to read this one. I just like this premise of someone being like, I don't believe in ghosts, I'm gonna go live in this haunted house. I don't know, I just think it sounds really fun. Now I'm gonna go through some books that are sequels to books that I really enjoyed, either gave 5 or 4 stars last year. The first one is Seasonal Fears by Shauna McGuire, which is book 2 in the Middle Game series, except for I believe that they're not actually direct sequels. It's a companion novel set in the same world. So this one says, Melanie has a destiny, though it isn't the one everyone assumes it to be. She's delicate, she's fragile, she's dying. Now truly is the winter of her soul. Harry doesn't want to believe in destiny because that means accepting the loss of the one person who gives his life meaning, who brings summer to his world. So when a new road is laid out in front of them, a road that will lead through untold dangers toward a possible lifetime together, walking down it seems to be the only option, but others are following behind with violence in their hearts. It looks like destiny has a plan for them after all. I'm very excited to read this one. Middle Game was my favorite book of 2020, so I'm really, really hoping that I enjoy Seasonal Fears just as much. I already know that I like Shauna McGuire's writing style, so again, I have high hopes for this. And that releases May 3rd. The next sequel that I'm really, really excited to read this year is Amari and the Great Game, which is the second book in a middle grade series by B.B. Alston. And this follows a young girl named Amari who, in the first book, her brother has gone missing and no one believes her that he's like actually missing and something is wrong. So she ends up finding a suitcase that he left behind for her, which gives her information about this like magical world that he is a part of. And she gets invited to go to this summer camp that is like how to hone your like magical abilities basically. And I guess the second book involves some sort of magic game, which I'm really, really excited about. The first book in the series I gave 5 stars when I read it last year, and I'm just really excited to continue. And the next sequel that I want to talk about is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I read House of Earth and Blood in 2020 when it first came out, and I loved it. This book is expected to come out on February 15th, so pretty soon here, like in the next week. But I'm really excited to read this book as well. It follows a half-fae, half-human girl named Bryce who, at the beginning of the first book, her friends are like murdered and she's trying to solve the murder because they lock someone away, but then something happens to let the like authorities in this world know that that person actually wasn't the one who killed them. So then Bryce has to team up with this fallen angel named Hunt, and they have to figure out what's going on. So it's got a little bit of like a mystery element, but also it's a lot of just like being in this world, and it's an urban fantasy, which is a setting that I found that I really liked from reading this book, and I'm really excited to continue in it. I have one last sequel to talk about, but this is actually in a series that I'm not completely caught up with yet, which is the Beautiful and the Damned series by Renee Audier, which is about vampires in New Orleans. I read the first and second book. The third book came out in December, and I have not yet read it yet. And then The Ruined is the fourth book, and it's coming out sometime in 2022. It does not have a cover or an actual release date yet, so I'm excited to read this one when I get to it. I will say I didn't like the second book in the series as much as I enjoyed the first book, and I've heard some people say that they DNF'd the third book, so I'm interested to see if I do end up reading the third book, then I will read the fourth book as well, hopefully this year or when it comes out, just so I can strike another series off my list. Next is another book that's already out. I'm going to talk about some YA contemporaries now. I think that's all I have left. There are 3 that I'm tentatively excited for, although, like I mentioned, I have been sort of trending out of YA, so they're not really 5-star predictions because I'm probably going to give them 3 to 4 stars, but I do want to read them because they sound like something that I would think is cute and fun. So the first is When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord, which is a YA contemporary about a girl who wants to be, I think, on Broadway. Yeah, she wants to be on Broadway, and it's about her like trying to audition and sort of make it on her own, I think. This sounds really fun and really sweet. Again, it is listed as a YA contemporary romance, so I'm assuming there's a romantic subplot. I don't know that much about it, but I do hope that I enjoy that one when I read it. The next YA contemporary is actually a queer YA contemporary romance called Ophelia After All by Raquel Marie, and the blurb says, a teen girl navigates friendship, drama, the end of high school, and discovering her queerness in Ophelia After All, a hilarious and heartfelt contemporary YA by author Raquel Marie. And so it sounds like something that I would have really enjoyed, especially like a year ago, but again, I've mentioned that I'm kind of trending out of YA, and if you watched my January wrap-up, then you sort of saw that a lot of the books that I read that were like YA contemporaries I did not enjoy very much. So I'm hoping to like this one. Again, it's got a beautiful cover, and it sounds really like a beautiful coming of age story, but I'm hesitant because depending on how it's written, I'm just not the target audience for YA anymore. So I am looking forward to that, but I don't know if I will absolutely love it. And the last book on this list is another one that I believe is already out. Yes, it published February 1st, and that is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy, which is about this girl who is, I believe, like, she owns an internet business of some sort, like some sort of e-commerce thing. I don't know exactly what it is, but her parents really want her to go to college, so she ends up going to this college in the Avalon Bay area, which is this really affluent area, and she's always been like a goody two-shoes, and then she meets this bad boy while she's there, but she already has a boyfriend. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of sounds like the premise to After, like the romantic dynamics, I guess, the relationship dynamics between the characters kind of sound like After by Anna Todd, which I never read the book, but I've seen the films, which is why I think I might like this book. It's a new adult romance, which is very exciting. I'm pretty sure that just means that it's YA, but the characters have like, there's like more steamy scenes. I don't really know what new adult means, to be honest with you, but I'm looking forward to reading it. And I do want to get to this one eventually. Again, I think it will be fun. I'll probably save this for the summer. I do tend to enjoy contemporary a lot in the summer, and it looks like a beachy cover, like the cover is a girl sitting on a beach watching a guy swim in the ocean. So I'm really excited for this one. That is it. Those are, I think that's 13 books that I'm looking forward to reading in 2022 that come out this year. Those are my anticipated releases, 5-star predictions, sequels I'm wanting to continue in, etc. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these books and how you felt about them, and also let me know what your most anticipated release for the year is, because I would love to hear it. If you have not already, you can go ahead and subscribe to my channel or like this video if you enjoyed it. I do post 2 videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!